I've driven on a ton of different drift tires for small wheel drift vehicles. I'm talking about A86s, Miatas, and E30s. Today, we're going to talk about the Zeknova Super Sport RS. This is a 300 tread bar tire from Zeknova that's geared towards drifters. The specific size that I tested is a 195/50 R15. I evaluate drift tires based on cost and tire life, so dollar per lap, as well as grip consistency, grip level, tire smoke, and a few other any kind of noticeable things. Now with the Zeknova, even before I put it in the car, I noticed a few things that were different. You see, a lot of drift tires tend to have a really soft sidewall, things like the Kenda KR20A, or even Velino Grivas tend to have a softer sidewall. And what this does is, as you load the tire and drift, it actually rolls and gives you a wider contact patch. The problem with the tire rolling is that it kind of causes a soft, squishy kind of a feel and not like a real clean, crisp feel. What was different about the Zeknovas is I noticed that the sidewall was actually pretty stiff when mounting them. To me, this means they'd make an excellent steer tire. They're also really heavy compared to KR20A or Velino Griva. To me, I'm thinking, okay, that means that the rubber is really dense, so it should last a long time. Now, I test these tires on 2 tracks, Westworld of Scottsdale at Fuel Fest, Arizona, and also at Honda Muscleman Circuit. Westworld is a pretty rough cheese grater kind of a surface. It's just a big parking lot pretty much, and so I didn't expect tire life there to be great. And then at Honda Muscleman Circuit, the surface is really, really good quality asphalt. At both of these tracks, I compare them to the Ironman iMove Gen 2, which is a pretty typical budget drift tire that's widely used. Let's check out a couple laps from Westworld of Scottsdale.
In this first video, I'm chasing a BMW Z3 shooting brake car. Now, I have no idea how much horsepower it has, but it was pretty dang quick. And you can see I can keep up pretty okay. I can't close the gap here. I gave him too much gap at the start, but I have no problem keeping and maintaining the same pace as him. If you look at my rearview mirror every now and then, you can see like tire smoke from the Zeknovas, but you really see in a minute how much smoke they make. They do a pretty good job. Even the cab gets a little bit right here. Now in this video, I'm leading a 3-car tandem train, and right behind me is Matt Sopa in his 5-liter Coyote V8 swapped Ford Fusion. You get a peek of it right here. Bloop. And that's a very, very fast car. Now, I couldn't pull away from him, but I could set a pretty good pace so he could, maintain proximity, no problem. And once again, look in the rearview mirror of my car here going around, you can see these Zeknovas make a decent amount of smoke, and I only make 250 horsepower for my car. They're pretty good.
The grip level was pretty good. I was able to keep up with faster, more powerful cars. And I really liked the level of grip and the consistency of grip. It was pretty consistent all the way until the tires were dead. The problem at this track was that the tires wore so fast. And this event was a paid event where I was getting paid to take people for laps, so the dollar per life really wasn't there compared to the Ironmans. After burning through a pair of the Zeknovas, I swapped to the Ironmans and ran the rest of the event on like 2 tires, which was crazy because the Zeknovas wore out in like 10 laps, and then the Ironmans lasted like 40 laps. A little while after this is when I headed over to Honda Muscleman Circuit to go drive on these tires and see if they did any differently there. And I was really surprised to see a significant difference in tire life.
These tires were fantastic for Muscleman. Here's a 3rd gear entry. I'm trying to do some backies here, but couldn't quite get it around. But you can see it holds great through the corner. Not quite a perfect downshift and handbrake grab there, but the car just felt so good in these tires. I'd actually just switched to an electric power steering setup, so I've got a little bit of spaghetti hands going on. But the car would slingshot just right with these tires, and they carried through every corner with no problems. And I hot lapped this so many times, and I didn't boil or blister the tires. They wore perfectly evenly every single time.
Obviously, the grip level was still great on nice, well-maintained asphalt. And I put dozens of laps on the Zeknovas and then swapped to the Ironmans and put about the same amount of laps, but I think the Zeknovas outlasted them just by a few laps. The Zeknovas outperformed the Ironman when it came to the level of grip and the consistency of grip. I noticed the Ironmans, they start to get greasy kind of near the end, and then they'd be done. The Zeknovas perform very, very consistently, even when hot lapping. When other tires would typically get greasy, I was really happy with the level of grip from the Zeknovas. Smoke at both tracks was pretty comparable to other tires, so there's nothing necessarily to note there, but I really did like the way that they felt. All right, let's compare the price between the two. Zeknova did hook me up on tire price, but the normal retail is usually anywhere from $115 to $125 plus some shipping depending on where you buy them from. That's pretty expensive when it comes to drift tires, but comparable to other higher end tires like the Kenda KR20A, Velino Griva, Velino Ebisu, things like that. So that's not too far outside of the realm of a dedicated drift tire. But if we compare that to the Ironman, those were $60 each shipped to my door from Amazon. So it's about double the price for the Zeknovas. You would expect to double the price, you would have double the life, and that's not true. So strictly in terms of dollar per lap, the Zeknovas really aren't worth it for me. However, it was interesting to notice the Zeknovas outlasted the Ironmans on a nicer surface. So to me that means, okay, if I'm gonna go drift at a track with a nice surface, I might as well save myself some time and money on mounting tires and buy a better tire. And I would probably go with the Zeknova in that type of a situation, or if there's a competition setting, I think the Zeknovas would be great because they deal with the heat really, really well. And the grip level for something like a 200, 250 horsepower car, these are just right. I find that sometimes the Kendas or even the Velinos are a little too grippy, whereas this was just fine. I set them at 40 to 45 PSI and was extremely happy with them. It's also worth noting that these would definitely be a significantly better steer tire than the KR20A because of the stiffer sidewall. So overall, are the Zeknovas worth it? You know, I think it's hard for me to say that these are going to be better than a cheap tire if you're really focused on budget. There's too many variables with the Zeknovas to really say, I want to run these all the time at every single track. You have to consider what track you're drifting at, the quality of the asphalt, things like that, and decide if the Zeknovas are going to be worth it for you. Now, if you're looking for the most amount of grip you can get, the Zeknovas are probably up there and similar to the KR20A, the 300 treadwears, as well as the Velino Griva. I haven't had a chance to test the Velino Ebisu yet, and those might be a better comparison, but honestly, I'm not sure yet. I think on a 1 to 10 scale, I would probably rank these maybe a 7 out of 10. The budget is not there for these, but the grip level, grip consistency, those are definitely there and better than the cheaper tires. So it really depends on what is most valuable to you. Thanks for watching.